What is the purpose of discipline? That's all we'll be learning about today. There's a saying that if the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. Now, one of the most debated topics in parenting is discipline. There's always talk about flogging, yelling, reward, consequences, and all of that. Now, today's video is not to tell you whether to use to flog, not to flog, to yell, and all of that. At the end of today's video, you are going to be able to understand the purpose of discipline, and you are going to be able to use discipline to achieve its purpose. After all you want to do is to raise your child from a responsible child into a responsible adult. That is what you want. So let's go talking about the purpose of discipline and how to actually use discipline to serve its purpose. My name is Enine Orebo. I work with young school children, teaching them manners, etiquette, sexuality education, building healthy characters, and of course, empowering them with leadership skills. I also coach and mentor parents in a private community called Parenting Accountability Community. This particular video is powered by PAC, Parenting Accountability Community, is one of the things we do there. This month of April is a month of behavior modification for us. And if you know me very well, you know that I always want to treat issues from the root cause. So we are starting from the root cause, learning the purpose of discipline. So if you have been here before, you are a returning subscriber, I say a very big thank you to you. You coming back, it's obvious that you get value from here. If you are new here, welcome. Now here is what you want to do. You actually want to subscribe, you want to like, you want to leave a comment, ask your questions. You want to make sure you are part of this family because there is value here. We've treated quite a number of topics in parenting. We've had quite empowering and transformational sessions. So you want to go back to our previous videos and unlearn and relearn, so that at the end of the day, we'll make amazing progress in our parenting journey. So please subscribe, leave your questions. If you have any questions you want me to answer, please do well to leave the questions in the comment section. Welcome back. So let's go on. What is the purpose of discipline? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to pause this video right now and go to the comment section and write the purpose of discipline. What you use discipline for. Write it there. So at the end of the day, you compare with mine and we move, like we say here in Nigeria. Okay. The purpose of discipline for every parent, even correctional institutions, is to modify a behavior. A child has stolen, use discipline to modify that behavior. A child is not meeting up to expectations or not meeting up to standard, use discipline to have them meet up to standard. So generally, discipline is to modify behavior. Whether if you want your child to stop doing something or you want them to start doing something, discipline, the purpose of discipline is to modify a behavior. After all, we all want our children to grow from responsible kids to responsible adults. And we know that the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. So we know that from now, we are training them on that part. So we want to use discipline as a tool to train them on that part, to modify those unpleasant behaviors that may not help them grow into responsible adults. So the purpose of discipline is solely to modify behaviors. Now, having established that discipline is there to modify behavior, for your discipline to be able to modify any behavior, the discipline has to be able to empower the child with skills to behave as expected. The discipline has to be able to empower the child to behave, empower the child with the skills to behave as expected. If you've listened to some of my videos, you would have heard where I talked about misbehaviors. For every misbehavior, there is a motivation. I'm big on root cause. So I always say, find the root cause before you discipline the child. For every behavior, there is a motivation. For every motivation, there are options. the child has to respond to it. Now, for every option, there's a consequence. Now, it is when the consequence is not something, it's when the result of the option is not pleasant, doesn't align with our value, that we now want to discipline. So for your discipline to be effective, to modify that behavior you want modified, your discipline has to be able to empower your child with the skills to make the right choice in the face of the motivation. Your discipline has to be able to empower your child to make the right choice in the face of the motivation. Now, here's the simple truth. If your discipline does not empower the child with the proper skills to behave as expected, then that discipline is a waste. Because your child still doesn't know what to do, doesn't know how to act. So when your child is faced with that situation, next time, they are likely going to repeat the same thing they repeated the previous time. Why? Because they still do not know what to do. Now, this is why after flogging, yelling, or smacking, or doing all sorts of reward and other type of punishment or consequence, many children still go back to repeating the behavior that actually got them disciplined in certain ways. Not because we think, oh, they are pig-headed, they are stubborn. Not because they are stubborn, not necessarily because they are pig-headed, but because they still do not have the skills to behave as expected. They don't have the skills to actually pick the choice or choose the option you want them to go in the face of the motivation, because we cannot take distractions. We cannot take all these situations, motivations, events that actually make them misbehave. You cannot take it away from them. So what you can do is make sure your discipline is empowering. Your discipline teaches your child what to do, how to do it, when, where, and all of that. So secondly, for your discipline to be able to modify a behavior, it has to build internal motivation in your child. I read recently somewhere that people do things because they want to do it, which is true. I'm not talking about forcing people to do things. They do it just like you use threats. Your child only does it because you threaten him. When the threat is removed from there, then your child may not do it, because they don't have the internal drive to actually do that thing. So it is temporary when you use a discipline that does not build internal motivation in your child. So your discipline must be able to build internal motivation in your child. Last year in Park, we had a certain coach come to teach us about how to help our children excel in school. And one of the things she emphasized on was build internal motivation in your children. Build internal motivation in your children. When they are internally motivated, they can actually put in their best, put in effort, and that effort is what will lead to results. That effort that results from internal motivation is what will put in the result. So what will yield the result rather. So if your discipline does not build internal motivation in your children, does not teach your children the need to actually behave as expected, does not teach them the need to behave as expected, then your discipline is definitely, you are not using discipline the right way. Your discipline must build internal motivation in your children or in whoever you are using it on. The third way to make sure that your discipline modifies behavior is to make sure that your discipline reinforces your teachings. If your discipline does not reinforce your teachings, then it may not modify that behavior. A practical example I would like to share is, let's say you have a rule in your house that says, oh, if you go out, because children, like it's Easter period now, children go out and they get people, maybe celebrant, they go for birthday parties, they get celebrant to give them park where they have snacks and all of that, and your child is crying that he or she wants to eat that thing. You have a rule that says no, you are not eating it until you get home. What discipline are you going to apply? You are going to take that pack from the child, you are going to keep it at home and make sure it is that same time you have promised your child is going to eat it, that your child is going to eat it. Let him cry and all of that. So at the end of the day, you are going to tell the child that you did not eat this pack, or when you were crying for the pack, I didn't give it to you, which means you didn't eat it, and nothing has happened to you. Nothing. You are still okay. You are still fine. So, which means you held the pack back as a way to discipline your child, right? And what you are trying to teach with that not eating the pack immediately is probably delayed gratification. Now you are actually also using holding it back as a discipline to reinforce your teaching on delayed gratification. So your discipline must be able to reinforce your teaching. If your discipline is not reinforcing your teaching, it means that your discipline is not being used purposefully. 3, your discipline must reinforce your teaching. Number 4, I think, your discipline must promote your values. Do you have family values? If you do not have family values, then we have a video on family values in this channel. You want to go back and check how to create an effective family value. I'll leave you can see the video on the screen. Just look for it and watch it. You want to create a family value system, an effective and a working one, and your discipline must be able to promote your values. And if your discipline is not promoting your values, then it simply means that your discipline is not purposeful. Your discipline is not appropriate, is not achieving its goal, which is behavior modification. Your discipline must promote its value. The 5th one, your discipline must gain your child's trust and ultimately influence. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to influence your child, especially in this era where there's a lot of craziness and drama going on. Your discipline must not slacken the bond between you and your child. Your discipline must not abuse your child. Your discipline must not push your child away. Your discipline must bring your child closer to you, so that when you have a connection with your child, you are better placed to influence your child. If you're not able to influence your child, always know that we are always learning. We are all, as human beings, we are always learning. We are always listening. So if your child is not learning from you, is not listening to you, you're not able to influence your child, there is someone your child is learning from, listening to, and is influencing your child. That is a simple truth. And like I always say, you don't trust that person's values. You don't trust that person's values. You don't trust their programming. You don't know what they are going to pass to your children. So your discipline must be such that it is not pushing your child away. Your discipline must be able to create a bond between you and your child. Now, the truth of the matter is, before you can use discipline purposefully, you would have been able to get hold of your emotions. That is, you would have mastered your emotions and be in control of your emotions. And secondly, you would have had a proactive plan towards tackling misbehaviors in your children. So if you do not have a hold of your emotions, or you don't have a proactive template for misbehaviors, then it may be a struggle for you to actually get to that state where you're able to use discipline purposefully, because using this discipline purposefully requires you to pause, to breathe, to understand the purpose before you can apply discipline, and to understand what you even want to do with the discipline in the first place. So let me help you with a few things you want to always consider before you use any form of discipline. So a few tips to actually help you use discipline more appropriately, or rather more purposefully. So the first thing is, when a child misbehaves, before you use any discipline, you want to pause and ask yourself, what discipline will empower my child with skills not to repeat this behavior? What discipline will empower my child with skills not to repeat the behavior? Because the purpose of discipline is to modify a behavior. So you actually want to empower your child with skills not to repeat the behavior. That is one. The second thing you want to ask yourself is, what discipline will motivate my child internally, will build his internal motivation, so that if he's not doing this particular thing, it's because he doesn't want to do it, not necessarily because there's a discipline attached to it, not because there's a threat of flogging, of yelling or anything, just because my child knows that, oh, he's not going to do it again, it's not right for him to do it, or he needs to start doing it. What discipline will motivate your child internally? Thirdly, What discipline will reinforce your values? Will reinforce your teachings, for example. What discipline will reinforce your teachings? And then, what discipline will promote your values? What discipline will promote your values? And lastly, what discipline will I use to gain his trust? I want to discipline my child. I want him to understand, to trust me that I am doing this for him. What discipline? Because if he realizes that, okay, this is about him and not about me, this is for his own good and not for my own good, then the discipline will not break him, he will not interpret it, because many times it's not about how we discipline the child, it's about how the child interprets our discipline. So what discipline will make the child know that it is not for me? I'm not doing this because I'm angry. I'm not doing this because I want to carry out a revenge. I actually am doing this because I want him to learn. I'm doing this for his own good. If he learns, his learning is for his own good. And our book, the Family Constitution, is a masterpiece on discipline. We also have a course here, 16 ways to discipline without flogging. It is going to also empower you on how to discipline your child. You can see the pictures on the screen, and we also have videos here, loads of videos here you can use. We have videos on values to create your family values. We have videos here. We have videos on a lot of issues already, empowering videos, transformational videos. So you want to take your time, just binge on this channel, come back and thank me. And I hope you learned something today. It was interesting doing this, and I do hope that it was fun for you. Please do well to leave a comment in the comment section. Ask your questions. Any question on parenting, feel free to ask. I'll always be in the comment section to take your comments. Thank you so much again for doing this with me. Bye for now, and see you next time.